Tricyclic antidepressants, or TCAs, take us back to an older generation of antidepressants. Like the SNRIs, they increase serotonin and norepinephrine, but these new drugs have been painstakingly bioengineered to hit the right receptors and not hit any of the wrong ones. The TCAs, however, are a lot less specific. We still use them because they work well for major depressive disorder, but unlike the SSRIs and SNRIs, most of them aren't really considered for treating anxiety spectrum disorders. They are, however, capable of treating a range of pain conditions like peripheral neuropathies, chronic pain, and migraine headaches, prophylaxis only. Clomipramine is an interesting one because it's actually a first-line drug for OCD, which is a fact worth remembering. Now, the TCA names will drive you absolutely crazy if you try to memorize all of them. There's like 7 names in total. But just remember that all of them end in some variant spelling of ipramine, iptaline, or oxapin. Now, if you're wondering why the SSRIs, which can totally kill your libido, are thought to be so benign, well, just compare it to the tricyclic side effect list. First of all, you still have the whole issue of sexual dysfunction. That didn't go anywhere. Second, the TCAs are also known to cause ham side effects and QT interval prolongation on EKG. Is that sounding familiar to anyone? The TCAs share a lot of side effects with the antipsychotics. Now, just for kicks, remind me about what the ham side effects are. So, the ham side effects are histamine blockade, which causes sedation, alpha-1 blockade, which causes orthostatic hypotension, and muscarinic blockade, which commonly causes dry mouth, urinary retention, and constipation. Hilariously enough, someone actually found a way to market this to bedwetters, and as a result, imipramine, one of the drugs that causes the most anticholinergic effects, is now used to control bedwetting. Like I discussed in the antipsychotic section though, these side effects are irritating enough when they cause you to not be able to pee and poop. But remember that anticholinergic mantra, dry as a bone, hot as a hair, mad as a hatter? Well, usually the dry as a bone part kicks in first. But in old people who are already predisposed to dementia anyway, long-term use of tricyclics can have more of the mad as a hatter complications, including some pretty bad delirium and the acceleration of dementia. The good news is, the newer generation of tricyclics, the secondary amines, have a much lower incidence of ham side effects than the others. Of these, nortriptyline stands out as the one with the fewest side effects, and the one that's least likely to drive grandpa crazy. But the real danger of these drugs comes from the fact that even more than the SSRIs, SNRIs, antipsychotics, or even the MAOIs, they're extremely easy to overdose on. And when you consider the fact that you might be giving these to a lot of suicidal people, that's not such a good thing. The classic triad of an acute TCA overdose is the 3 Cs: convulsion, coma, and cardiotoxicity, meaning arrhythmias. So what's the most common type of arrhythmia these guys usually get? It has to do with the fact that TCAs can cause dose-dependent QT prolongation. It can lead to torsade de pointe. If you need a refresher, go to the cardiology section to check it out. But if a person comes in with altered mental status after eating a whole bunch of pills, don't wait for them to have an arrhythmia. Use sodium bicarbonate. But Arjun, how does it work, you ask? Now this is way outside the scope of what you need to know, but I think it's kind of cool, so I'll share. Both sodium and bicarb play a role. Bicarb just increases the pH and inactivates the TCAs by converting them to their more neutral form. But the sodium is also essential to this process, and that's a bit more complicated. See, the way that TCAs prolong the QT interval is the same way that the class 1A antiarrhythmics do it, by blocking the voltage-gated sodium channels that initiate the action potential. So, sodium channel blockade makes the action potential slow down, causing the QT interval, which is basically the duration of the ventricular action potential, to extend over a longer period of time. And how do you overcome a sodium blockade? By piling on more sodium, of course, which is why the sodium in the sodium bicarb is so essential. Which class of antidepressants has the lowest therapeutic index? Pause if you need to think about it. And the answer is the tricyclic antidepressants. Remember, the therapeutic index is a measure of how many times over a normal dose you have to go in order to see an acute drug toxicity. For the tricyclics, you only have to take 10 times your daily dose in order to get a lethal overdose. I mean, that's worse than most benzos. Remember, while the TCAs can have a number of side effects, the effects of acute toxicity can be remembered as the 3 Cs: convulsions, coma, and cardiotoxicity.